two, one.
So, back to the technology show.
It is the technology show where we turn geek into regular speak. I'm Brett Levy. I'm your host this week. I should say we translate geek into regular speak, but it's the first show of the year and too much sun, too much good times, but back to it. So I always, as tradition, do a show about CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show over in Vegas. I haven't been over. Haven't got any plans to go over, but I always try and change the background and make it pretend that I'm there. Pretty much the same as when I do the Apple shows. Now, today's format's going to be a little bit different to the usual show version, and that's because normally I would do things with a Z. So for those of the first time that's joined the show, welcome to 2025. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. But normally I have different segments. I do things with a Z where I review a cool product or software. I talk about tech news, Are You Game, and then some question and answers. So today I have a guest joining me, which I haven't done for a while, and I'm pretty excited about. But the guest has a product that actually was at CES this year. So I thought we'd combine things with a Z and a guest interview at the same time. Now, he's only going to be joining me at about 1:15. So I've got a few minutes to kill, which is awesome because I wanted to go through some of the things that happened at CES just so that I don't break tradition totally. So let me bring up my slides and let's get into it. So for those of you that don't know what CES is, you're probably listening to the wrong show. This is a show all about tech. It's kind of mecca for anyone that's involved in the tech industry. There's always some weird and wonderfuls. There's things that are actually going to release. There are also things that are never going to release, which are actually also cool as well. But I just picked out a few just to go through them and maybe tease for future reviews or future updates that are coming out. So the first one is the XZ Peng Aero HT. It's a bit of a mouthful. If you're watching the show, you'll see the picture that I've put up there. If not, I'm going to try and describe it to you. But basically, think of a six-wheel Cybertruck-looking thing, which in its own is actually pretty cool. And they call it the mothership. That's pretty cool. It transports a flying drone vehicle in its back. So you drive this Aero HT six-wheeler to wherever you want, push a button, the back opens, a personal carrier drone comes out the back. You get in it, you fly around, you do what you want to do, and then you come back and it goes back into the truck. It actually charges itself inside the mothership. I knew I was going to get that word in there somehow, some way. So you get yourself inside the mothership, it charges, and off you go. This is the future. Like, these guys were quite serious on the stand that they were going to go into production. If I'm not mistaken, XZ actually did develop a flying car, so it was all in one. So this is their next reiteration of it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next, this has been a long time coming. Sony has teased about their EV, their electric vehicle. Well, the wait is over. The Afeela, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's AFEELA, so A is on the end of the word feel, is now available for pre-order. They're estimating that it's going to come out at 90,000 US. It seems like a lot of money for an EV, especially for one that's not one from one of the car manufacturers. Effectively, you're getting inside a PlayStation, right? It looks a little bit like the Polestar 2, which in my opinion is not the sexiest of EVs. Volvo, who owns Polestar, have never ever purported themselves as a sexy car manufacturer. But I think when you're spending that kind of money, there's probably choice out there. If you are watching the show, you'll see what the inside of the cockpit looks like, and it's just screens. It comes with a PlayStation controller, obviously, and I don't think you can play while you're driving. But now you'll have PlayStation capability inside your car. So maybe when you're sitting waiting to pick the kids up for school, or maybe you get to a meeting early, pick up the controller, play a game, off you go. It's not the ugliest looking car, and I do think they'll do well. So yeah, the Afila is finally going to come out, and I think they've been talking about this for about 2 or 3 years now. Next, I really like this one. That's why I included it in today's show, and I am going to make an effort to see if I can get my hands on a pair and do a proper review. But it's the Halliday glasses. Now, these are smart glasses with a bit of a difference. A lot of the smart glass technology that we're seeing, like MR headsets or Meta's Ray-Ban collaboration, has a set of cameras on the front of the glasses so they can record and see what they're seeing. And then the actual lenses are a screen as well. So whatever information is being relayed is being done equivalently to a heads-up display. So you'll be able to see the text inside the screen. What Halliday's done a little bit differently, and that's what intrigued me about them, is they have a little projector inside or behind the lens, the frame of the glasses, and it projects the content into your eye. What I did notice from looking at some of the videos, you do have to adjust your eyes upwards to about 20 or 30 degrees to see the projection. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it might be a bit weird if you in a normal day-to-day environment and you're lifting your eyes 20 or 30 degrees, right? You kind of like might be rolling your eyes at people. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting play on the tech. If you're watching the show, I have got a video that's up. Hello, Aria. Welcome to the show. So let me put the sexy, that sums it up. I thought you'd appreciate this. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept. Aria, while we got you listening to the show, mate, we're way overdue for a catch up. We need to get you on the show and we can talk XR, MR, AR, and all the other R's. In fact, I'm sure you would have found some of the headsets there quite intriguing as well. So if you think about the fact that you can have information relayed into your eye, but still use the glasses for normal glasses wear. Now, I say that because I have to wear glasses to look at a computer screen. I'm wearing glasses right now. If I take them off, I wouldn't be able to see any of my controls. So with a lot of these smart glasses, when the information comes up on the screen, you lose the ability to actually see through your lens because it's now their screen. And some of them have said that you can still put prescription lenses in, or some of the glass manufacturers have said they'll use multifocals. I hate multifocals. So I'm quite intrigued with Halliday. I do hope this is not just a concept, that it does make it to market. I think it's a Kickstarter at the moment, so I will follow and see how these guys come. But yeah, so that's that one. There were tons of robots. There's always tons of robots. Very different designs. Some were designed as these cute and furry little things. Like you just want to pick them up and love them and hug them. Others were like your butler style. Think Tesla with what it's doing with its humanoid, but a lot cheaper. This was the one thing I did want to include in the show. We were expecting to see robots at CES. The difference is that as this show progresses, one, the robotics and the robotic capabilities are better, but more importantly, the price is coming down. And the one where I want to use an example there is, if you remember the Boston Dynamics dog, that was one that we've seen climbing stairs and doing flip flaps, and a bit scary as to some of the stuff it can do. There was another brand of I'm going to just call it a robot dog, but in that sense, the Boston Dynamics form factor, that's going to come out at about 1/10 of the price of Boston Dynamics. Now, we're only talking 4 or 5 years since we saw this dog and doing what it was doing. To bring down a price that much in 5 years, that means in a year to two from now, their price is going to halve even again. So we're definitely getting ready for the period where we're going to start having robots and robotic assistants. There was another one that had a very, very humanoid looking, or human, sorry, looking, was just human looking. If you're watching the show, I've put up a like multiple screen of different, some of the different robots that were there. The look of this, and there was male and female, so this wasn't just where your mind might go to the gutter straight away. They definitely were good looking and realistic looking, but then in the demos that they did, the voice was still very robotic, and the movements were terrible. Like the manufacturers didn't put any effort into humanizing the movements. And this is something that I find generally with robots. They don't have the ability to move like humans. There's a couple of things when I look at video games as well, and when people say, "Oh, we're not going to need actors anymore," AI and CGI and all these good things will take over. They haven't quite got that human skin look, feel right when it comes to these things. And robotics are no different. They look real, they have real hair, they're wearing real clothes. But as soon as they start speaking or as soon as they start moving, that humanism disappears. And I think that's going to be the holy grail when it comes to robots. When you're making an assistant that just needs to carry stuff or drill holes or, well, do whatever it is that robotic assistants are going to do, then yeah, that's fine. They can work and move like robots. But when you're trying to make a companion robot or someone that something, I said someone, that's a bit scary that I'm thinking like that. Something that is going to take on the role of being a human companion, and whatever that might look like, might just be someone to go and talk to or have a cup of coffee. And I think also, again, unfortunately, we generally do go to the darker stages when it comes to what robots can and can't do. But with AI coming on board and things like psychologists or psychiatrists being able to help via AI, it would be even better if you had a robot that you could talk to and relate to that had this human presence that was using AI as a brain or as a way of powering. So I would like to see the movements of these in the next 2 to 3 years becoming fluid. I'm not a robotics person. I can only imagine how hard it is to do it. But yeah, lots of them. There was one that I really liked as well. It 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 kind of acted like a companion. It was all cuddly and furry, but it didn't try and be a companion. It was just there to be there, and the marketing that was behind it was for kids. Unfortunately, bullying is still a very big problem that we have in the world today, both online, in real world. Kids generally would come home, lock themselves in the room. What was nice with this, it's just approachable. You can speak to it, you can hug it, you can feel it. But more importantly is because it's a connected device, parents could kind of understand what their kids are going through without, if their kids didn't want to speak to them. So that kind of technology and evolution, I think, is pretty cool. What do we have next? Oh, I like this. I'm staying with robots. Excuse me. Staying with robots. Company called Roborock have made a robo vacuum. Now, you think about your little round robo vacuum and self-cleaning and all these things. I mean, they've been around for ages. But what it's got is they've built a robotic retracting arm. So this arm sits on the top of the robot, and when need be, it pops out and does what it needs to do. So you're sitting there thinking, hey, Brett, when would we ever need a robot? Well, it's pretty simple. Socks on the floor. And that's the image that I've used there as well. So the way they showed this robot was the robot's going along its way. It comes over a sock. Now, well, let me take a step back. I've got a robot, a robotic vacuum cleaner, or robot vacuum cleaner. And as soon as it hits a carpet or something, let's call a sock for this discussion, it kind of gets stuck or gets jammed up in the rollers. Some of them have got sensors that see it as an obstacle and just move around it, right? Well, that doesn't solve the problem. This thing will actually pick up the sock. They had a little demo that had this like little receptacle. So it picks up the sock and then it drives along to where it needs to be, and it drops the sock inside there. That's pretty cool. Now imagine a big night out where you go out and come home, kick the shoes off, drop the socks, take the pants off, start heading towards the bedroom. Hey, your robo vacuum is now scheduled to do its job in the morning, goes along, picks up the sock, dumps it in the receptacle and cleans the floor. That's pretty cool. Now I'm thinking, I wonder if we could actually hack the robo vacuum. I don't know, Lorne, if you're listening, this is probably a hack that you would get around. Imagine if we could hack it that it actually goes to the esky and just grabs a beer out of it and brings you it. So you're sitting on the couch watching TV, and along comes the robo vacuum with a a beer in it for you. That would be a very cool hack. In fact, I challenge someone to start getting into it, because it's obviously going to have some form of Linux control that you could probably get into and get the robotic arm to work. Speaking of eskies, I think this was the last one I had on my list. It is. I hope my guest comes on soon. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here talking to me without any more cool pictures. So, speaking of eskies, tongue twister. So, for those of you that are listening around the world that are not in Australia, an esky is your cooler box, right? So, big thing that you put ice in and take your beverages with. So, Anker announced the Everfrost 2. Now, it's an electric cooler. And those aren't new either. These have been around for a while. In fact, I think the 2 represents the fact that they've had it before. So it's an electric cooler. It has 2 removable batteries. Well, it comes with 1 battery, and I think it's an optional extra to buy the second one. So you've got these batteries, and they keep your esky cool. And the second battery would be used then to charge your devices. But if you don't charge your devices, it obviously will run and keep esky cool. But where this is really super cool, and this is the part that I thought was awesome, is there's now an attachment on the side of the esky that plugs in, that you can put an umbrella in, and the top of the umbrella has actually got solar watt panels. So if you're watching the show, I've put a picture up of it. And if not, just picture it. The top of the umbrella will have solar panels on it. They apparently will deliver up to 100 watts of power. That's pretty cool. So now you don't actually need to use the battery pack to keep your esky cool, or you can keep charging your battery pack if you're not using it, using the solar energy. So yeah, some really cool stuff. I'm just looking in the lobby here to see if my guest has joined me yet. He hasn't, which is a little bit of a problem. I'm gonna have to wing it, and that's the joys of live shows. Well, speak of the devil, I think I've just got Scott in the waiting room. Scott, if you can hear me, your timing is perfect, mate, because I was about to start threatening winging the show. But that is pretty much all the slides that I had up on the things that I'd found on CES that were pretty cool. And perfect timing. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to let me go back into my slides, having a little live show technical issue. I'll do that and go. We're going into things with a Z. And today I am very stoked to be talking to Scott McKeon. He's the co-founder of CESpresso. I will be bringing Scott into the show now. And I did mention at the beginning of the show why CES and why I'm speaking to Scott today with some of the awards. So without further ado, let's bring Scott into the show, and let's do that because we don't need the slides. Hello, Scott. Oh, I can't hear you, mate. You might be on mute. Now we do that quick fundle. Yes, no. Unplug the thing, go straight back to the Mac. No, we still haven't got you, mate. I'm just checking on my side. Let me see. You might be muted on this side. There we go. And now?
How's this?
There we go. Third time lucky. Welcome to the show.
We're on. Yeah, good to be back.
Likewise. So I think just before we kick off, Scott, and thanks for joining me. I had the privilege of meeting you in the very early days of CESpresso. So for the people listening that aren't seeing Scott, Scott's the co-founder of CESpresso. It is a CES show that I did today. CESpresso actually got a CES 2025 honoree in Computer and Peripherals Award. I know you weren't there, mate, and I'm still going to actually call you out on that. As a co-founder of the show, you could have said, hey, I'm going. So maybe we start off the show before we get into what CESpresso is and the super cool new product. Why were you not at CES? Like, what was the thinking?
Yeah, obviously would love to have been there. I've gone there twice in previous years as well. Is a lot of the focus there obviously is like presenting the latest and greatest products, but there's, I guess, a lot on the kind of B2B and retail side, which, I've got my co-founder who's also the CEO, Will, and then, team with Martin and Jen, who are more involved in that side. So that's the first part. And then also personal wise, I just had my sister who lives in Canada visit for Christmas and over that break as well. So it was bit of a double, but like it's such a good show. Like it's probably the one conference that I'd love going to the most. And we went first in 2020, which was just months after our Kickstarter, and it is awesome seeing and meeting all the people there. It has such a good audience. It has so much breadth. It's the largest tech conference, definitely in America during that time, where the whole of Vegas is taken over. There's side shows, there's events, there's parties, there's after parties. Like even for us, after a few years, and even despite our modest growth, like we're still over in like the Venetian, which is like the kind of small version of the conference compared to the Las Vegas Convention Center. Cool. So it's like, and one of the I guess the claims of the most notable person we've run into there is just the floor above. You start off in the startup section, which we did in the first year, and then you can go up the elevator to maybe out of like the startup section, and we're in like one of the far corners of one of the the smaller booths, and we run in and I notice the guy Palmer Luckey, who you may know. He's the founder of Oculus. Oculus headset sold to Meta. Meta is now, their whole VR strategy is built around him pretty much modernizing the VR tech when he was 19, 20 years old with a Kickstarter project, just like what we started. And after selling that to Meta, he's now started a defense tech company, of which the Australian, our military services, all like the 3 codes are all a massive customer of ours. And he's notable because he has a bit of a goatee, looks a bit like a young Tony Stark, and a Hawaiian shirt. I recognize him just walking by himself. No one else around really like picked up and recognized him. I instantly, I pull him over, and he spent like a really nice, like, 10, 15 minutes talking about the ins and outs of our products and what we build. And yeah, so it was really nice, in interaction that I'm just like, whoa, people like that are just kind of walking through there. It's just seeing what the latest technology is. And obviously right now there's so much going on from pretty much every part of technology at the moment. So it's really exciting to see the announcements. I was pretty much just glued to X, Twitter all day, seeing what all the latest announcements were. And it was just so exciting to see. So yes, I had a bit of FOMO, but I was also happy staying here.
You being the technical side of the product as well, from my understanding, I think with your engineering background, someone like Palmer would have definitely been a fanboy moment for you as well. But now let's get on to the product. So
I'm probably on the less technical side, quite a while. But in the early days, I was obviously like, helping build the prototypes over in China and whatnot. But we've now got an incredible technical team, much better than an undergrad who studied civil engineering.
Yeah, but it's okay. You've done it. So well done again. So I think just for the listeners, a quick overview. Espresso is a portable display. I was very privileged to be able to play with one of the first ones. In fact, Scott, I remember favorably us meeting in a coffee shop down at the bottom, I think below Westpac Bank, with all the noises going on while you had the prototype. And it was like, wow, now here we are 5 years later. You're at CES moving up the stands. And you've just launched another really cool product. So there was a 13 and a 15-inch, I remember originally. And what was really interesting is, besides being a portable screen, it's super thin, easy to use, plug and play, self-USB. It was a touchscreen. Now, for Mac users, we don't have touchscreens. Now, I've always gone and defended as a typical Mac user, I don't want fingerprints on my screen, and I don't. But I have no problem having fingerprints on my second screen. So one of the big things and I remember when I did the original review on the first unit, was that I now had the ability to have a touchscreen on my using a Mac, which again we couldn't do. But more importantly, that portability and the fact that it didn't need to be plugged in. I could take this with me, work in a coffee shop with 2 screens. I could turn it around because it came with a super cool cover that acted as a stand, and aim it at the person I was talking to, and they could share my screen. So it was just a winner from day one. Now, I've noticed the new product, the one that you've just got the award for as well at CES, and congrats again, because they don't just hand out awards. There's 20, 30,000 things, I think, going on there. So, let's just take that in for what it is. And again, congrats. But in fact, I think I've got slides here, mate. I'm going to move us down into small mode, and I'm going to do that. So this was the unit that I was talking about. This was the original one. It was a 13 and a 15 touchscreen. But this is the new one. This is the one that you got the award for. And there's a couple of things that I've got FOMO, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get one sent up for me to actually play. And I'll do another review on it as well and do a comparison. But what you've done here is you've redesigned the way the little connector works so it can sit above the Mac. There we go. You're showing us there as well. So it can sit above the Mac, which is a configuration I prefer. When I work at home and even at the office, I've got my big screen above me. When I'm out at a coffee shop or at a client, I've always got to put it next to me because that was the configuration. So I think just on the fact that you've designed this to sit above, that's awesome. That I have both pieces of content at one head out. Like, I mean, now we're doing a vodcast. If I look at all my things, I'm supposed to be looking here, nice and framed at my camera. Ha ha ha! Now I'm looking around again. So that would actually help me because I have notes here, and I would actually be able to control the show. Anyone that's been watching my show for a while notices me doing that the whole time because the controls are over there. So the one thing I did want to ask you, I might be wrong. This is not a touchscreen. Is that correct? This is a non-touchscreen device.
Yeah, that's correct. So, so we kind of have we kind of have a complete range now. We're getting very close to, I guess, having all the options that we think are, quite suitable. So the reason for the touch is, I guess the reason for touch, it initially started as we were prototyping, and we kind of realized, obviously, playing around with so many displays with every kind of device just to see the nuances of it all. And we found that the touchscreen on a particular prototype that we had served somewhat like a trackpad. And that allowed us to kind of, imagine if your trackpad had a display behind it, it could kind of serve the same. So you had to configure it in a bit of a non-intuitive way. But for us, because like yourself and like so many others, people would, there was this whole sub community of Apple users who just had yearned for a touchscreen with their MacBook. And, the solution to that was always get an iPad or use your iPhone for any type of touch interaction, because the arguments against is really having this vertically aligned like touch is not very intuitive. Maybe for a scroll or maybe for an individual click, but as a more intuitive workflow, which Apple's all about, they said, hey, we wanted to design the best experience, we'll put it onto iPad. And we kind of went through a whole journey with that to try and make what is a tablet level touch experience. And we still have that. We're very, very proud. And we've developed, a number of whiteboarding apps. And especially during COVID, when people were working from home, having that extra level of interactivity really mattered. But at the same time, a lot of our users were saying, hey, I love the display. I love the idea of touch, but I don't think I'm going to use it. Have you got the same version, but without the touch? Yep. And for a long time that we didn't, and we did have a 13-inch of this non-touch model for having a more compact product, to take around with you without the touch experience. And then this product really came out with, you want more screen real estate, you still want it to be portable, and this is going into a more lower price point without any of the touch technology into it, a much more streamlined, I guess, customer experience for those who just want a display. And that's what's driven that direction, as well as also having the elevated stand for, one is having like a footprint that's smaller just off a desk. Like I'm imagining at a coffee shop, one of those like round tables where you don't always have the room on the side.
Yep.
Yeah. So the second one is obviously the intuitiveness of just below and up, that's always been my standard configuration. So I've always had like books or something underneath the previous model of stand to get that extra elevation. And the third, which is something that's becoming a bigger and bigger problem, the more that, I've been researching a lot around obviously the launch and thinking about like who we trying to really, target and reach with this product is really around repetitive strain injuries caused by, being hunched over because of our phone, because of a laptop, and particularly for our audience of people who are working away from your desk, working primarily from your laptop in places where you don't have a monitor available. So not the office, not home, everywhere else. Yep. And, if you're working just off a laptop, you kind of can be quite hunched. So being able to have it above actually really helps with like the best practice of ergonomics, which is having a monitor, the top of the monitor at eye height and that slight angle below, and then you can use that as your primary display, and then use your laptop as like a secondary additional display.
100%. And I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. Even I work, as I said at the beginning when we started chatting, I work in that same configuration at home and at the office. And I use the Mac screen for the non-importance, the emails, the team chats, WhatsApp, or whatever, the things that are going to distract me. Let's word it that way. But everything is done up on because it is head height. I don't have the neck strain. So, and this is probably goes to the fact that why A, you've been in business for a while now, and B, why you've winning awards, right? Because you're actually thinking about it's not just a screen. Because you can get a screen. It's not unique. You can go onto any website you want and type in portable screen, and there it is. And the other thing that I also really love about the CESpresso monitors is that they self-powered. That was another problem that I think in the early days that you've solved, and I'm glad to see that you've continued with. It's 2 USB-Cs, if I'm not mistaken, right? You've got 2 USB-C ports. Is it one
the
that comes?
ports. Yeah. So the 2 USB-C ports on the side now.
You got one in, you can still push one out if you need as well. It's dual directional, from what I understand.
Yeah, for sure. And you can. The second one's for an additional power bank. Say if you want to connect your phone and that uses the port, but the phone doesn't have as much battery, so having a second USB-C port is quite helpful.
And those are the little things, right? Because I've used both the USB-C ports on my Mac before and then gone. And now what I do, so the fact that my external screen is actually giving me a third USB, that's awesome. And for the exact reason, I need to power up the phone because, again, I'm sitting in a coffee shop. The MacBook's got 10 hours worth of battery. The phone's dying. So it's that whole holistic. And of course, now with what's the new OS, Sonoma, whatever it is, where you can now bring your iPhone into your screen as well. That's going to use up even more battery. So now I can keep it connected. I've got 3 screens actually all interacting with themselves without actually having to plug into a power outlet. So talk to me about weight, because I do remember that on the 15-inch, and again, 4 years ago, technology's changed. She was a heavy device. It wasn't the lightest device to carry in category, and that's not a positive or a negative. It is what it was. What's the weight like? If you had to compare a MacBook being 2 to 3 kgs, what was it? What is the 15-inch screen now coming in at weight-wise?
Yeah, so the way we like to think about our products is really the best fit for purpose product. I guess the challenge with the monitor market as well as the portable monitor market, it's highly commoditized by, I guess, 2 industry groups. One is obviously these big tech companies with household brands. They're probably, I'd say, like they're mid market to the top of the market, and a lot of those products are very like one size fits all. And then you've got the rest of the market, which is mid to entry level, kind of like unknown Amazon, Alibaba brands, which are kind of like the direct factory, usually from China, who's trying to sell direct to Amazon. And those are very much characterized by design and requirements that are like try to reduce the cost and get the lowest price possible. And there's where we try and sit is we're not trying to be any particular price point. We're trying to solve the problems that we see unaddressed. We're trying to find the space in between, or like the more pockets and niches and gaps in between. So portable monitors, we're thinking about this before the category existed, and thinking, hey, what would be the product that we would want to use? And so a lot of our early units were that's why we went with the touch directional. It's kind of a bit of an all-in-one. So it's kind of like, I'll get this one portable monitor and it can do everything for me. We weren't thinking about sub niches of people who wanted touch, wanted not touch. Now we have a pro line for content creators and graphic designers and everyone else. And we're expanding. So we're trying to give a bigger variety, and we're more dialed in with those different personas and use cases and why someone would want one over the other. And weight is obviously one of those most important requirements about that. So there's 2 ways to think about it. The first is, I guess, the user experience, which is how do you make it so light so that someone doesn't have to think, should I take it with me? I think that's kind of like the first criteria, because if you have a portable monitor, but every time you're going to go work somewhere, you have to think, should I take it with me, or is this just like a staple I take with me no matter what? Like it's like taking a notepad in your backpack. I'd say maybe a water bottle, but it's depending on the size of the water bottle. Sometimes maybe I'll fill it.
How much water you drink? Have you seen some of these water bottles? They're like,
exactly. But like it's kind of one of those things that you just pack. You're packing your bag. You just put it in there, right? So say if someone's a member of a WeWork, they work from home 3 days a week. They work from a WeWork 2 days a week. That's just the thing. They don't have to think about, what am I doing today? Do I have meetings? Am I presenting, or am I just working as usual? Should I have one of these? So that's the first way to think. And that's, I'm a 6'3", 95 kilo Aussie man. Like I'm not very sensitive to the weight of a laptop or a monitor, right? That's very different to someone who's, 50 kilos and 5'4", 5'6", right? So there's that variability there. And sensitivity, and that's why I guess having a range. That's why we've got the 13-inch models, the 15-inch models, and 17-inch. The most lightweight ones are 625 grams. So that's as lightweight as it gets. Really, it's lighter than an iPhone, and like the largest iPhone model. And so you've got that all the way up to our 17 Pro, which is our largest Pro model, and that's 1.1 kilo. So you've almost got that.
I mean,
it's still extremely light. Yeah.
If you go into an Apple store and pick, well, they don't do 17 anymore; they do 16. But if you pick up a 16-inch M4 Pro, that's going to set you back probably close to the 4 kg mark, maybe slightly over. So 1.1 on a 17-inch screen it's not heavy. You've definitely shaved a lot of weight from the prototype days.
However, it's also in addition to the laptop weight, right? Which obviously
then, if you're carrying a big laptop, then you're already carrying weight. I think that's the thing, right? That's the difference between a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro. There's probably 1.5 kgs, same form factor, 14-inch, but there's probably about 1.5 kgs difference between the two. So
absolutely.
Okay.
And then the other trade-off is between, like, I guess, weight and function. So obviously, like, I want more screen real estate, but am I willing to trade off having that extra weight? And like, say an example would be, I'm going to a conference for a week, CES, and I'm on the show floor all day, but then I'm going back home and I'm working for probably my hotel room for 4 to 5 hours, recapping the day, doing a bit of business as usual, and anything else that comes up, right? And it's going to be like focused, dedicated work. I'll probably take the 17-inch because I'm happy to take. I want the larger monitor, and it's going to be in the hotel room, and it's going to be probably in my check luggage, or I'm just taking it in transit. Yep. Comparing that to, I'm a digital nomad traveling through Bali and Southeast Asia. I'm living everything off my backpack, and then I'm setting up to write a bit of a travel or photography vlog, which is also my source of income whilst I'm traveling. Maybe in that scenario, one, you'd say, okay, how valuable is a second screen to me at all? And then if so, I'd probably opt for a more lightweight one, maybe the 13-inch or the 15-inch, but I'd have to make that trade-off between weight and screen real estate, which is the number one thing that people think about, is the extra screen real estate of a screen as a product. The other one I really love, and this is one of the things I love the most about Stand Plus, is usually, like, there's always trade-offs with product design. But this was able to, I guess, create this additional functionality. But because you can see here, it has this fold internally.
Oh, there, yeah.
It folds out, and it's the same weight, slightly less than the existing stand. So it has the same stability as the current one, and then it can also have the additional height. So it's really, as far as like a generation improvement on the previous stand, it has added extra functionality with no trade-off.
And I didn't use the stand. I preferred the concept of the fold-over cover because I was never going to raise it above. That wasn't the thinking, But to your point, for me, it's a no-brainer. I'd much rather suffer the extra weight, whatever that weight may be, and know that I got the extra screen. I think, let's be honest, with one thing that COVID did is it taught us to work from home properly and behave, and two, how to use two screens. no one works off one screen anymore. It's very rare that you see a person banging away on a laptop or even a desktop with one screen. And if they have a one screen, it's one of those like 40-inch screens that they've split down the middle and they're still multi-purposing. So the fact that you've got choice in the range, which lets consumers have that choice, right? You can actually choose light and smaller or bigger and heavier. But if you're talking at topping out at 1.1 or 1.3, that's not heavy. It's when you start heading to 2 or 3 kgs, and the argument is, I might as well get an iPad, and take the iPad as the second screen or something like that. Because I think that was kind of where, and I'm talking from a Mac point of view, I used to carry an iPad as my second screen because that gave me the touch functionality as well if I ever needed it, and I could doodle with a pencil. But it's not a practical second screen. It's still and it needs a battery and it has to be controlled, and so very exciting to see what you guys have come up with. I personally don't feel the lack of touch being a negative. I don't touch the screen of my Mac. If I want to touch something, I touch my phone or I touch my iPad. And in fact, I actually bought a Chromebook, and for that reason is that I had the crossover between an iPad and a touch screen with a keyboard, is that you could still do what you needed to do. But
yeah, just on the iPad one, like, so we're not really, obviously, not really that this is the source of truth in the industry, but Facebook comments of various posts that we have or ads that we run, you seem to get a lot of opinions, and one of those is commonly, well, why not an iPad? And like, that's for us as well. It's kind of like, we're not against people who use an iPad as a second screen. We're not trying to say that our solution is better. We're just offering an additional choice. And say one of the biggest, well, we have a lot of customers who currently have an iPad and have been trying to get that working as a second screen, but eventually come to us. And I guess the reason for it, or I guess the customers that like our products the most, is usually when it's one is the additional screen real estate. Is like you want a second screen, you want it to be a lot larger. And comparing like a 12.9 inch or 11.9 inch iPad compared to a 15.6 or a 17.3, it can be more than 50% screen real estate or even 70% screen real estate. So it's quite substantial. It's the difference of, 17.3 is probably the first size I think I can do like proper spreadsheet work. Like, and any smaller than that, you feel like you can't see the whole thing.
I'm sitting going, I'm hoping an assembly want to play with, but now I'm thinking, do I actually want a 15? There's 17, and that's glorious and massive. I am conscious of time as well, but the one thing I do want to say, and I don't know if you've found this to become a market as well, but for gaming, like to plug in and use it as a decent display, even like the Switch market, right? Plugging in your device and having an external screen when on the go. We've got it. I've got everything. I mean, I'm a techie, but we've got a Nintendo Switch, and when it's plugged into a TV so that when you're home you can dock it. We don't use it for that. We've got an Xbox, but when you go away, you actually realize how small a Nintendo is. Like, it's super small.
Yeah.
So taking a portable screen with you, I'm thinking of the family market now. Dad needs to work or mum needs to work. There's the second screen. Fire up the laptop, kids are sleeping, do your work. But when the kids are awake, or even when the family's awake, plug the Nintendo into the Espresso monitor, and you can actually play a multiplayer game on there. There's enough real estate to take out the Joy-Cons and start playing. Can you plug an Xbox into it? That's the question, or a PlayStation.
Yeah, we have a whole range of customers and have worked with like partners to explore like all of those use cases and how they use it as well. And I think what we find is that, so I guess similar to you, our products can work with like any kind of USB-C device or even a HDMI device. So whether it's like someone using it for work purposes and then they play on Nintendo Switch or on other gaming consoles such as a Steam Deck or a PS5 or the latest Xbox, and like all of those you can kind of use it across different devices for different use cases. So like we've definitely seen that, and we've seen people even create custom like travel kits for it. We have a guy, Austin Creed, who's a WWE wrestler, and he's He's posted about us a lot, how he takes his Steam Deck around and plays Tekken on the flight with whoever he's next to and who he's touring with. So there's a lot of exciting use cases around that. One of the main, I guess, challenges or design trade-offs is kind of like, we haven't made a dedicated fit for purpose gaming monitor, which obviously what they care about is like latency and reducing lag. So like you probably want like a 120, 144 hertz refresh rate, as the lowest response time that you can have, maybe even up to 240. And we've tested that. We've got prototypes, at those kind of higher hertz rates as well. We've made a like intentional design decision around the products that we have got, is that increasing the response rate massively increases the power draw. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off of, besides gamers, like what is the other functional benefit of having, I guess, slightly reduced lag if you notice, versus it drains my laptop twice as fast now because it drains twice as much energy because it's flickering the LEDs twice as fast.
Yeah.
So it's those.
Sorry to cut you off though, but this is the portable solution, right? This is you going away for a week's conference. You don't want to miss out on League of Legends for a week while you're away, but you also don't want to play it on your phone. That's a decent trade-off. I'm not talking about Rainbow Six Siege or Counter-Strike, where you need a minimum of 140 and a refresh rate. So it's something just like I had an aha moment. I was like, this is perfect. And when you said Steam Deck, I was like, that makes sense, because you could also use the Windows side of the Steam Deck and have a portable computer. Now all you do is take a keyboard and mouse config, connect it to your Steam Deck, use the CESpresso monitor, and you've got the best of both worlds, because the compute power is happening inside the Steam Deck or Asus ROG, So there's definitely, and I think you might have just hinted at a future product update. We might see that CESpresso gaming monitor coming out for the nomads that live on the go the whole time but still want to play at a pro level. So what's next? I mean, are there new iterations that are coming out? Is there further roadshows? I can imagine, your global footprint. Where to next? What are we going to see in the next few months now that the year started?
So we just launched the 15 non-touch and Stand Plus in November, and
so it's new.
So that's new, and that one, we feel that's the best product for pretty much most people. So, my number one focus is getting the volume rates of those up in most regions and really understanding how far we can take this product, because it's in the US price point, it's $299 US for the display and the ergonomic stand. That equates to a $499 Aussie dollar price point. With the stand, and so that's now compared to, I guess, the 15 touch model with the previous generation stand, that was $749. So that's quite a substantial difference. So quite a substantial difference. So that obviously there's been a lot of people who might have seen our products in the past, or people that we haven't looked as far as audiences to try and approach. That's a big one, and we're still in our first year with JB Hi-Fi. So that only happened in June 2024.
Congrats.
So
yes, I remember seeing that announcement. Congrats on that. That's
awesome. That's really exciting, and the team there was awesome in supporting some of the very few Australian consumer electronics companies. So working with them was great. And for anyone who doesn't know, JB Hi-Fi is in the world stage one of the top 10 consumer electronics retailers in the world, even though Australia is per capita a reasonably small country. So having that foot in the door with JB Hi-Fi and some of the data in working with them is quite meaningful in going to other international retailers as well. So it was actually a really positive thing that we could have the support as a local company. And then actually take that to the rest of the world. So they're two big things. And then there's the product that we announced at CES, which we're going to be launching still in a few months, and that's the 15 Pro. So that's the 15-inch form factor of the same 17-inch Pro range. So expanding our Pro range to a 15-inch size. And that's going to be that is at a 550 nits brightness.
Wow.
So that is, that is I think by far our Pro range are the best portable monitors out there when you look at the complete range, which is amazing. So again, finding those are for people who want the best tech. So anyone who has when they're looking to get the new phone, they just want to get the best phone. Like the Pro range is for you. But then more functionally is like people in the creative industry, anyone who works in photography, video editing, even fashion and print advertising, where they need to get the colors completely right, because even the slightest difference in the reliability of their monitor can throw out a very big budget in printing costs and production costs. So those ones, they need reliable products. But say video editors, for example, they're constantly, they might be on a 1 week shoot away and editing at night, doing an all day shoot, editing at night, and they don't have their monitors and they can't take it with them. Whereas a product like this is great. So the 17.3 inch has been great for the last, almost like over a year now. And now this is bringing that 15-inch form factor, which is more portable, because some of the 17 inches don't fit into all common backpacks. So we wanted to make a 15-inch model as well.
I think 15 is also, it's a nice size. If you look at the MacBooks, you got a choice of 14 and 16. They don't do the 17 anymore for that reason. It just didn't quite fit in. I remember my early days on a 17-inch Mac. Besides, it weighed a ton. It just didn't fit in anything cool. You had to buy a specific bag. We are getting to the skinny end of the show, I think, but the most important thing is this must be one of the first chats in about the new product if you only just launched and back to school, back to work. And the fact that it's in JB Hi-Fi, people can go and actually touch and feel and play. I have had a little ticker tape flowing across the show every night. Oh, there it is. It's back. Is that the correct website? So it's Espresso, but between the two S's .so.
Absolutely, yeah. It's we've inquired many times about the espresso.com domain, but it is an absurd amount of money.
Imagine.
You have the whole
cool. I like to do that. It's a nightmare for a designer, but we're not designers, so don't worry about it. So for those listening, press with one S .so. So the word espresso and split the two S's with a dot.
Yeah, if you Google espresso displays or espresso monitor, we'll certainly come up.
All right, perfect. Scott, before we wrap up, mate, again, thank you. It's always good to chat. I would have preferred to have been in person again, but the geography doesn't allow it. Anything else from your side? Are there any promotions that you want to talk about? We've talked about JB Hi-Fi. They can get you online as well. Anything else from your side before I wrap it up?
Yeah, I think just I'm just really excited about the 15 display and Stand Plus, especially the ergonomic angle. Been speaking to a lot of societies, organizations, and workplace ergonomists. If anyone's interested in that space or has been looking at that space over the last couple of years, we're looking to get in touch with those communities. I guess at the same time, if our products think they can benefit how you're going to work into 2025, absolutely. But obviously, Brett, love to thank you. You've been a supporter since super early days. Before when we were a couple of madmen running around with a display prototype. So and you've been there, sending positive messages of support and everything every step along the way.
Thank you. You've got a great product, and especially given that it's made here in Australia as well. There's not many companies that
not made in Australia. We absolutely would love to. And if anyone knows Rode microphones, that they're incredible because they do their manufacturing locally. It's something that we absolutely would aspire towards. But it's quite difficult to create that operation. Rode's been doing that for decades.
I meant to say designed, like Apple's designed in California and it's assembled in India and China and wherever else. But look, I will continue to be a fan. As I said, as you said, I've been following your journey since day one, and it's awesome to see it growing. And that's it. So yeah, going back to school, going back to work, going back to wherever you need to go. If you need a second screen, then I highly advocate on the Espresso displays. Scott, as always, I know we'll chat again during the course of the year. Looking forward to playing with one as well. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get timing for me to actually review it, but I'm more than happy to dedicate another things with a Z, especially that ergonomic, above my Mac as opposed to side by side. And that's it. So thank you. Thanks for making the time again, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Well, that wraps up CES, and it wraps up, another first, getting to play with, or haven't played with, but getting to chat to Scott about some really clever and innovative design. So I guess that's it for this week's show. Until next time, keep your screens clean and your knobs shiny.